Thank you so much for inviting me, and very sorry that I could not be with you in person. I think, even if I wanted to, the circumstances in our country are such that it would be unfair to leave my newsroom at this very critical time. But I would like to begin by saying that I'm honored that you have called me and invited me to speak at this event. And you have many great speakers in this event. You have people who have been mentors of mine like Mohandas Pai, who are there, and I wish I could be with all of you, but nevertheless, I want to start by thanking you. Now, a lot is said, and I know the subject of your conference is the broad ambit of the India and US relationship. A lot is said of what America expects from India. And I would like to focus in my address on what we legitimately expect from America, because a relationship of equals must have a deep understanding of the expectations on both sides. What happened in Pelgam on the 22nd of April is something that needs elaboration in a global context. On the 22nd of April, there were tourists on honeymoons, there were families on surprise birthday vacations, and they were wiped out while eating at the snack stalls. And on the 22nd of April, men standing alongside their children and wives, they were asked about their religion, and they were asked to recite the Kalma, Islamic verses, as a test. And if they could not recite the Islamic verses, then they were made to kneel, ISIS style, Hamas style, and shot close range right in the head. And on the 22nd of April, the men were stripped, whisked down to check whether they were circumcised and whether they were Hindu or Muslim or non-Muslim, and then identified as non-Muslim and then executed. And then the wives of the terrorists, one of them came on my program, Pallavi Rao, that's her name, and she said that, and I spoke to her about 4 or 5 hours after her husband was killed. And she said that after my husband was killed, I went to the terrorist and I said, "You've killed my husband and my son," and I told the husband, "Why didn't you kill us too?" And then the terrorist came close to her and said, "We won't, because we want you to go and tell Modi what we have done." And the children were lying next to their dead fathers. They were saying, some of them in their nightmares are saying, "Mama, I see fire," and "Papa is dead." And that is what happened on the 22nd of April. That should sink in. The similarities with what happened on October 7th in Israel are shockingly similar. The problem is that when Pelgam happens, there is very little coverage and very little interest in sections of the global media which have become far too woke and which do not want to focus on Pelgam because they won't want to come to terms with the larger threats, the civilizational threats that the world is facing. And so you may ask, why am I saying this in the context of a dialogue which is India-America? Because we must state what we expect from America very clearly. America cannot insulate itself to the point that it does not look at the threats that will continue to target America itself. America should not pretend these issues will not hit it. 9/11 happened. And the Pelgam attack that happened in Kashmir happened precisely 75 days after senior Hamas leaders were in Pakistan. So there is a direct connection. And about 90 to 100 terrorists, mostly from foreign countries, were present at a global terrorism conclave at Rawalport in Pakistan, occupied Kashmir. This global terrorism conclave happens, and it happens to happen in Pakistan. And Hamas leaders such as Dr. Khalid Kadumi, Dr. Naji Zahid, and Mufti Azam and 5 others were present there. Therefore, I see a contiguity between what happened on October 7th, 2023 in Israel, when Hamas terrorists killed 1,100 people, mostly civilians, and what happened in Pelgam in a popular tourist spot. You see that both these attacks involved identifying victims on the basis of their religious identity to amplify the divisive impact. Both these attacks involve synchronized multi-pronged tactics. The Hamas relies on small, highly mobile teams to execute the attacks. And in the case of Pelgam, there were 6 attackers who operated as a compact unit, using the terrain to their advantage and escaping post-attack, indicating that they were trained and agile operatives. The reason I'm drawing a constant link between what happened in Pelgam and what happened on October 7th is because it is part of the same pattern. I don't want to mince my words today, but when all of these things happen, it is very important for the United States of America to understand the harm that it has done to part of this world. America has strategically tinkered with this part of the world, and Donald Trump must understand the damage that previous administrations have done by encouraging, supporting, sponsoring, directly or indirectly, the number of terrorist groups in this part of the world, from the Middle East to South Asia. They have different names. Some call themselves the Mujahideen, some call themselves the Jaish today, some call themselves the TRF, some call themselves the Lashkar. But the fact is, all of this is a residue of what the United States has done by using, breeding, and cultivating all through the years, through 3 decades, these groups as strategic assets, initially and predominantly in their ground battle with the Soviets. And this realization must come, and therefore America must realize that if they want a strong relationship with India, they must acknowledge that the mistakes they have done by encouraging these groups over the years must stop. They must watch the statement of Khwaja Asif very, very carefully. I think he said it to Sky News. Khwaja Asif is the defense minister. He was asked aggressively by Sky News 3 days back, rightly so, that would you acknowledge that you've supported terrorism? But Khwaja Yusuf said that yes, we have been doing America's dirty work for decades. Why does the Pakistan defense minister say that? Of course, it is an acknowledgement that Pakistan is a gun on hire. It is a country that simply wants to use terrorism as policy. But it also underlines another fact, that the Pakistanis are looking the Americans and the Western world in the eye and saying that we were doing this on behalf of you. So when America now wants to look upon India as an investment destination and put in foreign direct investment and make us part of the China Plus One strategy and look upon us as a counterweight to China, it is very, very, very important. But as the founder of India's largest news network, I would like to say that the relationship with America cannot be purely commercial. It has to be strategic. Americans must understand, Donald Trump must understand, that you cannot change the foreign policy of just Ukraine. You have to relook at your policy, your strategic foreign policy with the rest of the world as well, on fundamentals with India. And right now the baseline for India, in the given context that we are having this dialogue, and I'm sure pretty much this is going to remain the context till we sign our agreement with America, which I'm sure will happen, the baseline of the geostrategic agreement with the United States of America has to be terrorism. And just lip service or condemnations or a blank response of a war of terror in terms of generic terms is not a fundamental commitment to a strategic cohesion between our nations. I did see the comment yesterday or day before of Donald Trump where he tried to build an equivalence between India and the United States. He must not do that. He kept saying that, yes, I know there's a problem and I think they'll sort it out. I think that's very generic. I think that's very unthought. America will have to think about whether the relationship they want to have with us, with India, is restricted to tariff negotiations and persuasions of arms deals. I have once been to the American embassy many years back for a conversation. I think it was an interview with the American ambassador, and after that we were almost accosted. The American diplomats asking great details about the MMRCA deal, and of course it's not for journalists to give the term, but I felt somewhere that the relationship with America is simply being based upon defense deals. We are looking for a deeper commitment between our nations. It is not one or the other. It has to be both. It has to be strategic and commercial. And if America thinks that we have too much at stake, it's not true. We can talk about the trade deal, we can talk about the commercials and all those other things, but the fact is that India's exports to the US are accounting only for about 15% of the total. America does not have that kind of leverage on us. We can pretend and make Trump feel that they have the leverage. The fact is, in 2024, we exported goods worth only 89 billion to the US. We do not have, Americans do not have the leverage on us. Now, what does that mean? That means that America needs us as much as we need America. So Trump cannot be casual in his comments on Pelgam, which he has said today. This is not a fluzy relationship. We can't balance with the Hamas. There is no balancing on Pelgam. Trump cannot strike equivalence between India and Pakistan if there is anything that is beyond a commercial relationship between our nations. There are two things I want to add. It is in America's interest to have a relationship with India. With or without America, we will take on China. If America thinks that we need America to take on China, they are mistaken. And so there is no leverage that America has on India in that sense either. We are not insecure vis-a-vis China. We have held our ground. America has not fought a war with China. We have fought wars with China. We continue to be in a military standoff with them. We're the only country that has given China a bloody nose in military terms. That's a huge accomplishment. There was a 73-day standoff in 2017. It was a bloody military fight. And India did it without looking left, right, west or east, or to America or to Russia for either help or approval. So when America looks upon us as a strategic partner, it has to accept that we are dealing with the only country in this whole planet which has taken on China and continues to take on China. We're a very strong country, militarily and economically. See, I'm not trying to undermine the need for an America-India relationship. All I'm trying to say, and I have some practical experience, I run the largest news network in the country, that looking at it from the West, one might get a feeling that India has more skin in the game. No, America has more skin in the game as well. And so I will conclude by saying this, that the United States has to look at its own interests. I accept it. I believe that India is part of the US's interests, not the other way around. That's point number one. And the question, therefore, is not whether India will be on Trump's side after what has happened in Kashmir. The question is more fundamental. The question is whether Trump will be on India's side. Because India is in your interest if Trump is serious on the China plus one game. But pure economics will not do anymore. It has to be much more than that. It has to be a deep, cohesive relationship based upon mutual understanding and not just tariff and transactional conversations. So I hope I've communicated the sort of sense that we have here in India. I believe in a very strong India-US relationship. I believe India should work very closely with the West. We've all been very, very happy with the close working between the West, between the United Kingdom, between the US and India. But I think that what we are asking for again is a fundamental commitment to a strategic cohesion between our two nations. And I'm sure your conversations in Stanford will only extend that. I thank you very, very much. Maybe the next time we'll get to meet. And I wish you luck for the rest of your conference. Thank you so much.